out in the video department today.
Old TG.
Old TG. And, you can leave messages for us whenever and wherever you want. You can do it at the After Hours line. You can do it on the iHeartRadio app.
What's up, Alan? This is Martin. Hey, just touching on that adult actors and playing teenage roles. I think what it is the sexual nature of a lot of those movies. And if you cast a lot of teenagers, you can't put them in certain situations. And that'll probably take from the movie when it comes to the sexual part of it. All right, thank you.
That makes sense for a show like Lizzie McGuire.
There were a lot of sexual situations in Lizzie McGuire.
He might be onto something with that. Because you have a movie like, especially going back to the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Was that Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Jennifer Jason Leigh, Phoebe Cates, yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh played a 14 or 15-year-old, and they show her boobs a bunch of times. They show her losing her virginity to a guy that's like 26 or 27.
Right. Damone, was that the guy in Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Damone was closer to her age.
Right, okay.
But she was going out with the guy from the stereo store, and he takes her to the dugout.
Yeah, they do it right there in the dugout.
And they do it in the dugout while
with Jackson Browne music is playing.
Yeah.
I think of that movie, I had, 1995, I had moved to, or was moving to Kalamazoo, Michigan that fall. But that summer, this movie called Kids had come out. Remember Kids?
I never actually saw Kids, but I know people talked about it and said it's real messed up.
It's real messed up, and I can't remember if those actors, and it had people you know now. At the time, you didn't know them, like Rosario Dawson and Chloe Sevigny, and didn't know those people at the time, but they were in that movie. And I couldn't remember if they were actual kids in that movie, like minors, not kids, because those actors are around my age. So that would have made them early 20s. But at the time, they all looked really young, and I was thinking that they were like maybe not of legal age. You know, like Euphoria over on HBO. I don't watch this show, but all these parents were flipping their shrimp over the show Euphoria because I think it's about a bunch of teenagers that are doing drugs and having sex or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, the cast has an actual...
Is not what teenagers do.
No, of course not. They're at home reading scripture. Mm-hmm. The cast has an actual porn actress in it. But Zendaya and who's the one with the rack that everybody talks about? Sydney Sweeney. I think they're in their early 20s. I don't think they're teenagers. But as long as you had an actor or actress who was 18 years old, I would think you could do whatever you want. You're not going to put somebody who's actually 16 in a movie and then have them do all kinds of weird stuff. But yeah, those 80s movies were a very different vibe. Because you would have people, the characters were very young, but they were doing adult things.
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney's 24. So.
Okay.
And then we'll go ahead and see.
So, I mean, you know. And the things that you could get into PG movies back then, by the way.
Right.
You know, everybody talks about, you know, you forget the movies that were PG, 16 Candles and Ferris Bueller and, you know, all these coming-of-age movies.
Yeah.
There were boobs and there was cursing and there was, you know.
I think it has boobs twice in it or something for a PG movie. What was the one I was watching a couple weeks ago that had Back to School? I think that's a PG-13 movie.
With Rodney Dangerfield?
Yeah, he opens the shower and it's like, oh, hey. And then he opens it, closes it, and it goes, you're perfect.
Yeah, because there's a naked girl in the shower. Yeah. God, I haven't seen Back to School in 1,000 years.
Doesn't quite hold up.
Did you see the trailer for Jeepers Creepers Reborn, Poundcake? I know you like that franchise.
What? No, they're making another?
Well, they made it a while ago. I think it was pre-COVID they made it, but it's getting released. I don't know if it's going to be streaming. They're trying to reboot the whole thing, so I think this is supposed to be the first of a new trilogy.
You're doing too much, because Jeepers Creepers 1, great. 2, I could tolerate. Wasn't as good as number 1, but I could tolerate it. Then they made a third one, which I think was either direct to DVD or direct to TV, because I only saw it when there was like a movie marathon. They played all 3 of them. I'm like, what is this? And I did not it was just crappy. You could just tell that they were like
They didn't have the budget to keep it up.
they were feeding off of the name recognition. I'm like, this is not a part of it.
I only ever saw
thought
the first one.
I thought number 2 was pretty creepy, where they're all stuck on the bus.
No, I could tolerate that one.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as number 1 though. Number one
was real creepy.
seeing that I don't know what year it came out, but I had to be under 10, and it was something. Like I was like, wow, that's the only movie I can remember being like scared. Like when their car just comes out of nowhere.
I watched that in the Philippines there was 2 missionaries that were so it was 3 missionaries from America, me and 2 other guys, and then one of the guys was from a very remote part of the Philippines. And he hadn't really seen a lot of movies. He didn't understand special effects. And he watched that movie and was losing his mind. And he
thought it was like a real thing, or
he thought it was a real thing. And the next day we were walking around and we had watched a few other movies. And he's like, Elder, I never want to go to America. And I was like, why not? He's like, there are so many monsters there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, the Hulk is there. The Creepers thing is there. And he's just like listing all these movies that we watched. I'm like, those are pretend. And he's like, I believe my eyes. And I know what I saw.
Huh.
So it was very funny.
You're like, oh no, we have plenty of monsters in America.
Yeah.
They just look like us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't have to have
what's
green
really
skin.
Scary, Elder Dagahoy.
There you go,
Just-
Dagahoy.
I just think the first
He was the best.
Elder Dagahoy was the
Yeah.
best
He was so funny.
because he was Filipino and you
was
could
Filipino
play tricks on him.
And it wasn't even, you didn't have to play tricks on him. I mean, we did, but
You didn't have to, but we did.
but he was just so innocent to so many things of the world that it was just hilarious to see him experience these things for the first time.
Did you ever have an underground network in the immediate aftermath of you kind of excommunication, all that? Was there any kind of underground network or above ground network of people you knew from that time in the Philippines who were similarly going down your path?
Well, I was basically the head of a disobedient missionary syndicate.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I mean,
A DMS?
Basically, if you were to make this into a movie, it would be a similar voiceover to Goodfellas.
I always wanted to be a gangster.
I always wanted to be a disobedient missionary.
Right.
And because we would...
So you were leading them down the path of unrighteousness.
Because I was one of the guys that had been there longer. So when they saw what I was doing, they go, well, I don't really want to do this stuff either. So
right.
You kind of feel out the guys and see who was cool and who was down with doing some stuff. I remember meeting up with an elder to go to a strip club one night. We had a good time.
So but you were never going to get through to the kid who thought that the Hulk was real and living in Des Moines or whatever.
Well, he was down to do stuff like watch movies. Like he knew that wasn't supposed to be done. So like he was slightly disobedient. He wasn't drinking booze and going to strip clubs with us. But he was.
You guys weren't even supposed to
funny.
watch movies.
No.
Yeah, so anyway, I think part of the Jeepers Creepers thing, too, is they wanted to get the series away from the dude who directed them. Because remember, that was a big
Yeah,
deal.
he's
He
a
was a
pedophile, right?
convicted pederast. Yeah. This guy, Victor Salva, he kind of cast a shadow over his movie. He had done a movie called Powder in the mid-'90s.
I remember Powder.
Yeah, and then he did the Jeepers Creepers movies, but he had been convicted years before of abusing a 12-year-old who was in one of his movies. And so he went to prison for a while. So I think they're trying to reboot that whole thing, but without this guy.
He actually plays the creeper in the movie. It literally lists him as the creeper.
Well, he was the creeper in real life,
That's what I'm
too.
saying.
Yeah, he went to prison for it.
He's a guy that also thought acting was easy.
It just sucks.
This is super
He's
easy.
like, I'm just playing myself. Creeper.
Well, it just sucks because the first Jeepers Creeper, the reason why it was so scary is because it was so well written. Like, just...
No, he played a victim of the creeper. The creeper himself was played by an actor named Jonathan Breck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Wikipedia has a way of listing people as the creeper, so that's funny.
I think they mean Victor Salva was a legitimate creeper. No, I only saw that first one, but I wondered if you had seen the trailer because it's very, very vague. I don't think, like it says limited release for like a weekend in September it's going to be in theaters, but I think the rest of the time it's probably going right to streaming.
Yeah.
But people like those Jeepers Creepers movies.
Oh, yeah, and this dude videotaped it, too. I'm on his Wikipedia page.
Oh, the abuse he
Yeah,
videotaped?
he
Well,
said-
that's why he was able to get convicted.
Yeah, it was Salva was convicted of sexual misconduct with one of Clown House's underage stars who was 12 years old at the time and videotaping one of the encounters. That's what he said.
Going back to Sydney Sweeney, there's a nice clip of her where she was on the Tonight Show and had a little nippy slippy.
Oh, she was on some talk show and said that she was talking about a conversation she had with her grandmother. And she was worried that her grandmother might not approve of the roles that she was doing and all that. And her grandma said something like, "You have the best teats in Hollywood, so what are you worried about?" Something like that.
He got only sentenced to 3 years in state prison for that.
Well, I don't think he made any movies after that either.
And only served 15 months of that 3-year sentence.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
It's funny how life works. You guys were laughing at the word gulch, and now there's a gulch working for you. It all comes around.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? I mean, some people would chalk that up to fate. I would chalk it up to coincidence.
I'd say coincidence.
I would say coincidence.
I say fate.
I know you.
Me and Mary are team fate.
I know. It's okay. You know,
What's
they say
fate
that
doing for
there
you?
is, they say that there's no downside to optimism, As long as you're not blind to the consequences of a situation, there's no downside to optimism. So you really got to hand it to somebody who tries to find the silver lining in climate change. Did you see the video of this anchor over the BBC or Sky News or one of these? This anchor in the UK.
Let's just talk about how nice the weather is.
People are saying this is like that movie Don't Look Up in real life, where Kate Blanchett and Tyler Perry are the anchors. For people who've seen this awful movie called Don't Look Up.
This is a good movie.
I'm in a distinct minority in that I didn't like this movie, but the premise is there's an asteroid that's coming and nothing can stop it, and DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are the scientists who are trying to tell people. And so they go on this, cable news show, and they're screaming that the world's going to end. And it's a satire, so Kate Blanchett and Tyler Perry. We like to keep things a little light around here. And so people are doing side-by-sides because this woman over on the BBC or whatever is talking to one of their meteorologists who's outside. And the UK is going through a brutal heat wave right now. They're not used to this. They don't get this kind of weather. People aren't prepared for it because they usually don't get this kind of weather. So people in the UK, I was reading like 5% of people have air conditioning.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up is in Europe, air conditioning is not common.
No. If you stayed overseas at all in a hotel, there's no air conditioning. You open a window.
That is so weird.
It's like you don't get
like
ice in your drinks, like you got to ask for ice.
I'm American. I want to be cold. Give me ice. Give me AC.
So this, they've got a meteorologist outside, and the anchor, for whatever reason, it's almost like she's playing dumb. She's like, "Why is everybody all upset all the time?"
See, John, you're outside enjoying the sunshine. It's not too hot, is it?
No, it's absolutely lovely. It's 20 degrees out here. It's perfect. But on a serious note, folks, I think there will be hundreds, if not thousands, of excess deaths early next week.
John.
The charts that I can see in front of me are frightening.
So, John, I want us to be happy about the weather. And every single... I don't know whether something's happened to meteorologists to make you all a little bit fatalistic and harbingers of doom. Because all of the...
Is there anything that's been happening that's making you guys think that maybe the weather is not going in a good direction?
He's also trying to save lives here by letting people know, be prepared.
Yes.
Next week when it's 40 or...
40 Celsius, about
it's gonna be
104 or 5
Yeah,
degrees.
it's going to be ridiculous. And people, like we said, they don't have AC over there, so you have to make arrangements to make sure you don't die of heat exhaustion.
Like there are open fires in cities. Roads are buckling. So the guy talks about infrastructure and things like that. He's like, hey, think about how you're going to get to work, if your road is going to work, that kind of thing.
And harbingers of doom. Because all of the broadcasts, particularly on the BBC, every time I've turned on anyone's talking about the weather, they're saying that there's going to be tons of fatalities. But haven't we always had hot weather, John? I mean, wasn't the summer of 76? That was as hot as this, wasn't it?
No, people always hark back to the summer of 76, which was a freak event 40-odd years ago. But heat waves are becoming more extreme. This is yet another one which is coming down the tracks towards us. And, I don't think we should be too light-hearted about the fact that many are going to die early next week because of the heat.
Well, I mean, what's the big deal, really? You're fine. You look comfortable out there. He's like, yeah, there's a lot of old people. Same thing as over here. Like, old people always die in heat waves. And things like
but I'm a freeze baby, so I'll be fine.
Right. But yeah, very, very few people have air conditioning over there. It's not a European thing. But it was so strange. I wasn't sure what she was getting at. Like, I wasn't sure what she was trying to...
She wanted to be like, well, if you're going to be out next week, make sure you're near a pool with the Mai Tai because it's going to be a hot one.
Yeah, these cities, like they were showing Paris and London, like the city fountains are just letting people frolic around in them because they don't have... Because they're looking at 104-degree record temperatures in London next week.
Hey, goodbye, Earth!
I just wasn't sure what the point was, because she acted like this was all news to her. Like,
Right.
what? Like she didn't even have a window to look out.
Maybe she has air conditioning. She's one of the 5%.
Oh, maybe she does. She's breathing that rarefied, cool air. Mm-hmm. I was reading that, the headline was, it's so hot that the clouds are melting. What they meant, though, was that in the UK, they're losing cloud servers because the buildings that they're in aren't able to manage the temperature spikes. So it's like frying cloud servers for Google in the UK.
Oh, that's not good.
So it's like this kind of cascading effect of all kinds. It's wild.
That's why you got to back those nudes up on a hard drive, right, Poundcake?
Correct.
Send nudes.
Don't trust them clouds.
Yeah. Hey, Duke.
Hi, Alan. Nice to talk to you, sir.
Duke, how are you, pal?
I'm well. You're a man about town. Have you heard of the Viagra Triangle on the west side?
On the west side of Cleveland?
Yeah, well, in the western suburbs.
Oh, I've heard there's a Viagra Triangle downtown Chicago. I'm familiar with that. Let's say I'm familiar with the concept, so I'll go along. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 bars that older Americans can meet each other and greet. The White Oaks in Westlake, the Panini, the Luca West bar is very good. The Veranda bar, and these are where not elderly, but
I think Duke is trying to call these places out, or he's trying to spotlight them as boomer F joints.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the White Oaks, and I'm talking to this real cute MILF. I think she's early 50s, and we're getting on real good. And I bought her a drink, and she bought me a drink, and she asked me if I'd ever had a sportsman's double. You ever hear of that?
I haven't. No.
Does she mean possibly a devil's threesome?
It's a mother-daughter threesome.
Oh, a sportsman's double.
Well, my ears perked up. So I said to her, I never have. I just certainly on my bucket list. Good Lord. She goes, well, she said, tonight could be your lucky night. She said, follow me. We pay our tab. I get in the car. I follow her to this real nice house in Westlake. Go up to the front porch. I give her a hug. She gives me a kiss. She unlocks the door, goes in, flips the light on, and she yells out, Mom, you still up?
Because the insinuation was that it's going to be this 50-year-old lady's daughter, but it was her mother who's going to be well into her 70s.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was the old switcheroo.
Nice. Good job, Duke.
Oh, Duke, you magnificent bastard. You've done it again.
Have a good one, Alan. Peace and love.
All right,
easy,
thank you. I hope that sportsman's double comes your way. I've never heard of that. As though it's a sport to make love to a woman and her daughter.
And also something that you want on your bucket list where you're like, you know what, it really gets me going is a little bit of
you know what puts me in a froth
incest.
is making sure that, the girls aren't going to do anything with each other. They're going to service you, William.
Oh, okay. But
They're not going to do anything with each other. That would be gross.
I want a mom and a daughter in the same room doing sex things.
Really?
Do you?
Do I want it? I mean,
Would
I
you
wouldn't.
be okay?
I wouldn't
like,
seek it out.
Listen, I'm not running away or anything. I'm just saying.
I'm not
I
in
don't-
their family. Whatever they want to do is up to them.
Just seems
There was a
strange.
mother-daughter duo that was doing porn some years ago.
Yeah, I don't.
And they were like, we obviously aren't doing anything with each other because that's illegal. You'd have to be very, very, what's the matter with being that open and free with your mother and your daughter? You're both women. You know how things work. You know where they go. You're heterosexual women, and you've got things you like to do.
I don't know.
I told you about that.
If you have the phrase, "My mom's my best friend and my scene partner," I think it's a little too far. Yeah, the father-son, right?
I told you about that duo, the father and son duo that had an OnlyFans, and
You did, yes.
I don't know if they were doing stuff to. Well, I don't know.
No,
if they're
that's
just-
illegal. I mean, you can't be doing stuff together. That's the thing.
They were tossing off in the same room.
But they're not doing anything to each other.
yeah.
That's illegal.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot you can skirt around. You know?
Where is the line of illegal? Like, what if they're in? I'm trying to
They
keep it
can't.
clean.
They can't be doing sexual things with each other. These two girls I'm thinking of, the mother and daughter, some years ago, and again, these are damaged people. So it's not like they walked off the cover of Vogue and got into Pornhub or whatever.
What if they Eiffel Tower?
They're not doing anything with each other.
Okay, but I'm saying in the middleman, like, what if some parts touch?
But with two women, there's not going to be an Eiffel Tower.
I don't know if you know how sex with a woman works.
I'm talking about with
It's-
two men, like a father and a son.
father, son,
No,
Eiffel
they're
Tower.
not touching each other.
Yeah.
If there's somebody in the middle, like there was a
You got
video.
a torso keeping you guys apart.
There you go. You got a buffer. There's one video in particular that was called to my attention. This mother-daughter. The mom was working the twig and the daughter was working the berries on this guy. Right? They're not doing anything with each other.
Dude, I don't know. That's just a line that.
Yes,
you just-
admittedly, it's very, very strange.
You
And
think of your parents so different after that.
Well, not everybody does.
Yeah,
These two were like, let's just make some money because this is a wild novelty. And they did. I think the daughter is like dead of a meth overdose or something now. But I mean, I don't think it ended well for them. This was a number of years ago. But for a hot minute, boy, they were a novelty in porn.
I had a friend. Well, actually, no, it wasn't even my friend. It was a friend of a friend. We went over his house, and apparently his mom was on Playboy or Penthouse back in the day, and she had one of the old magazines.
Dude, that's the dream.
Well, I don't know if you want your mom doing that, but she
No,
had
but you want your friend's mom to be doing that,
Yeah.
and then go over and be like, "Oh my god, I can look at your mom naked in a magazine."
if she's got a hot mom. I mean, I guess if she's in the magazine, she was.
She had it in like the laundry room / garage area, but it was like framed. And he's like, I've seen my mom's boobs. It's not even. He was like, it's not even what you think it is. It's just that person on the magazine doesn't even remind me of my mom. That's just a picture.
Yeah, because it's when the mom was like 19 years old and now she's 35. So it might as well be a totally different person.
Yeah,
to
he
that
was
kid.
like, that's not even like my mom. I don't even think of that as my mom.
Let me break here. I will have those highly suspect tickets for you after the break. You want to go see them? They're coming through end of September to the Agora. And then 5:30 is the very last chance today for you to grab $1,000 and go fuel yourself. So that's coming up.